Here's one for the statisticians and historians amongst you. This is the first video on FM18 I've ever recorded wearing shorts. Hello and welcome to Club 6 Part 24 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode we have two massive games. We're at home against Manchester United in the Premier League and then also at home against Celtic in the Champions League. They're both must win as far as our aspirations for this season goes. We are in very, very good form at the moment. The 4-3-1-2 is finally starting to work after the disappointment of the Barcelona game in the last episode. We've won 3 Premier League games on the bounce. They have been relatively easy games. Although Everton are not a bad team this year, but we're scoring lots of goals, which is good. We also thumped Ajax, but ridiculously, Celtic beat Barcelona. So we find ourselves going into this final group game against Celtic needing at least a draw. If Celtic beat us, I mean, they have to beat us like 3-0. It has to be a convincing win. But if Celtic beat us, then they go through and we end up in the Europa League. We can't get knocked out of Europe entirely, but I don't want to play in the Europa League again, so we must get at least a draw against Celtic. And then our recent good form has forced us back up into the Champions League qualification positions in the Premier League. But I mean, we're 8 points behind Manchester United after only 13 games. I'd hoped this might be the year we put together a title challenge. If we're going to have any hope at all of doing that, we have to make sure United don't pull out an 11-point gap on us at this stage. Our win brings the gap down to 5. It makes it a lot more doable. So both games need winning. It's as simple as that. And this is the team that we're going to be putting out there for the Man United games. We've got Weiss in goal, Martelot, Felipe, Alex and Suma at the back with Davidson, Leshy and Henrique in midfield, Schaefer in behind Dolberg and Salcedo. Let's get into the game. We are having something of an injury crisis at the moment to our midfield players, particularly Pingu's still out, but Junior David is out. DVD's out, Patrick Roberts is out. I know Roberts doesn't really play for us anymore very often, ever, but he's still knocking around the club, if you remember him from 2 seasons ago. But we're at the point today where we've got a youth team midfielder on the bench, Henry Lawford, who's been in and around our Carabao Cup team for a few years, but the fact that he's having to sit on the bench for a league game against Manchester United shows you how desperate things are getting. Tommy Merson is our backup striker. So once we move past Sandu, Tommy Merson is our option as a striker. Things are getting a little bit desperate with attacking players. We do have a little bit of money in the kitty, and we are approaching the January transfer window. I don't know that I would necessarily want to spend. What a finish from Kasper Dolberg. That was a little bit special. Eddie Salcedo, former Manchester United player, nods it down beautifully. His conversion from winger to centre forward has been coming along really rather nicely. He's starting to look like a proper Premier League striker. And he placed that in front of Dolberg brilliantly. And Dolberg just thwacked it past the Man United goalkeeper. We're 1-0 up, 10 minutes on the clock, and as it stands right now, that leaves us 5 points behind top of the table Manchester United and comfortably in the Champions League spots. This is, I mean, if you'd have offered us this league position, this points total after 14 games at the start of the season, we'd have been happy with that. This is something that we can build on in the second half of the season if we can avoid a horrible run of form like that one that we had early on in the season when we found ourselves down in the bottom half of the table after like 6 games. I genuinely thought we might be in for the sack this year, but this recent run of form has impressed the Arsenal board. They've just given me a new 5-year contract on, I think we agreed on £85,000 a week. So it's like a £22 million contract. I think Dolberg's just scored another absolute beauty. So if I am going to be leaving Arsenal in the near future, it's going to be to somebody who's willing to pay through the nose to get me. I'm going to cost more than a half-decent Premier League player. So I think my chances of leaving, certainly anytime soon, are now becoming limited. I'm committing to a league win with Arsenal. And if we carry on in the form that we're in at the moment, it could even be this season. Dolberg is playing out of his skin. At what point do we try and convince... Well, at what point does Dolberg let us try and convince him to sign a new deal? At the moment, he's still completely refusing to discuss terms. It's called a Sedwin Scott situation. And if you don't watch Back in the Borough, you won't know who Sedwin Scott is. You should probably watch Back in the Borough. It's awesome. But I really don't want Kasper Dolberg to leave on a free in the summer. Equally, I don't want to sell him in January when he's in the kind of form that he's in right now. But I have no idea who or what we could replace him with. We've obviously got Hutchings and Willis who are out on loan, but not really setting the Premier League alight with the teams that they're at. Dolberg's just hit the post. Dolberg could have had a first half hat-trick here before Man United have even had a shot. We have just hit them fast and hard and early and hard. And Man United do not know what's hit them at the moment. We've had nearly 60% of the possession, 2 clear-cut chances, 15 shots. We're passing better. We're not tackling as well as them. But then they're needing to do more tackles than us. And I think they're about to go down to 10 men as well. Because this fella who's just fouled Martelite is already on a yellow card. And at 2-0 up before half-time with United down to 10 men, you would have to feel fairly confident and comfortable going into that second half. He is sent off. Right, gentlemen, let's just not mess this up. I mean, that's literally my team talk for you. Don't mess this up now. I'm a little bit afraid. They have now had a shot, but they missed. So that's a good thing. At this point, I know I should be doing tactical tweaks, but those of you who've been following me for a long time will know that the 4-3-1-2, it's not really something that I've ever really tweaked successfully. I guess we were tweaking it when we were at Leicester. We were switching it around between counter-attacking and standard and control, and we were playing a lot of teams who were better than us, and I felt like it kind of worked there. I think we did the same thing at Oxford as well. Who were we at in between? Portsmouth, was it this year? I'm losing track of who we've managed in this save even. Alex makes it 3-0 on the hour mark. It's an assist from Dolberg. And at 3-0 up with half an hour ago against 10 men, you've got to think we're home and dry at this point. And it's been a very impressive performance. If we can play like this against Celtic, we shouldn't have any problems at all cruising through into the first knockout round of the Champions League. And I tell you what, I know we're all a little bit down in the dumps in the comments on yesterday's video. I'm recording this last night as you're watching it, and a lot of the comments have been telling me how I need to leave Arsenal and how it's all going wrong and how I'm the new Arsene Wenger. Man United have won the league 9 times out of the last 11 years, and we're beating them 4-0 with 20 minutes to go. This ain't no Arsene Wenger. This is we're finally getting the team playing like a Kev team. I'm feeling good about this season. We've managed to turn what looked like it was a disastrous start, and through a real run of good form, we've turned this round into a very promising position to be in as we approach December. Right, let's get Sandu and Merson on. My one worry is the injury crisis, because we are a little bit thin when it comes to players. I mean, really, the only other attacking player we've got in the squad now who's fit is Reece Nelson, and he's a winger. So, I mean, I could bring him on, but I'd have to readjust the entire team to do it. So I think what I'm actually going to do, there you go, let's show some real confidence. Let's bring on Harley Lawford. I thought he was called Henry. Apparently he's Harley Lawford, who is another product of the Arsenal youth team. This is, I think it's the second one we've brought through after Junior David, but obviously Merson. I guess Merson had played about 3 games before I arrived, so I'm going to claim Merson as well. Jake Hutchins, Willis. I mean, there's 5 or 6, he says after listing 4. There's 4 or 5 Arsenal youth players that I'm bringing through, and I'm pretty proud of that as well. We've had 32 shots in this game. In comparison, Manchester United, dominant Manchester United, have had 1 shot on target in the entire game. I don't know that they've ever been thumped like this in this save. We have taken them to school today, and I just hope we can keep that kind of form going for the rest of the season, because if we can, we will win the league. But we've been so inconsistent throughout the entire save, I don't think that's very likely at this stage. No changes for the Celtic game, then I think we'd be a bit mad to make any changes after what we just did to Manchester United. One incredibly important piece of news, though, despite him being wanted by both Monaco and Barcelona, Kasper Dolberg has agreed terms on a new contract. He's not signed it yet, but he has agreed terms on it. I'm hoping he's going to sign it in the next couple of days, which will be a 1-year extension. That would be even better than beating Manchester. It won't be better than beating Man United 4-0, but it'd be up there. So let's get into the Celtic game. Let's see if we can make it a hat-trick of good news in this episode. When was the last time we had a truly positive episode of Non-Leeds Legend? Other than all those times I've been positive, we're not very good. But big win against Man United. Our best player signing a contract extension when we thought he might go to a rival for free. Oh God, here you go. No hat-trick of positives because Henrique's injured. It's the start of it all going wrong. Right, Tommy Merson, I guess, is the man to come on in midfield. I don't know who's better out of him and Schaefer to play deeper. I guess Schaefer is marginally. And Merson can adopt his more familiar position in behind the front two. But we are getting pretty light on central midfield players. We do still have Sentonzi, the Italian defensive midfielder / centre-back / can sort of play anywhere in midfield and defence, that we panic signed around about this time last year. I think it was last January. And we've barely played him. I think he's played like one game in the entire time he's been at the club. So he's there as an option. It's just not really an option I necessarily want to use, but needs must. We've sold most of our central midfield players because we thought we were only using 2. We didn't need to keep any more. So that might be where we need to dip into the transfer market in January. Merson just over the bar from range. Remember, we only need to avoid defeat in this game. Obviously, we want to win it. We're going out there to try and win. And at the moment, it looks like it's going in a similar way to the Man United game, other than the fact we've not yet scored. But they've not had a shot in the entire first half so far. It is in the 45th minute, though. Salcedo's in and does make it 1-0 just on the stroke of half-time. And we needed that because we've dominated that first half just the same as we dominated the game against Manchester United. The only difference was we hadn't made the breakthrough. But Eddie Salcedo's there. His conversion to striker, I think it's pretty much complete now. He looks like a striker. He finishes like a striker. Eddie Salcedo is a striker. And it's handy because we needed a fourth one. And he's become that man. DVD, I hope, will emerge in similar lines as a striker. Because otherwise, I think we probably need to move DVD and Reece Nelson on. It's not fair to keep them at the club if they're never going to get a game. And their wingers, they ain't getting a game as it stands right now unless they can play in a different position in the way Salcedo has adapted really quickly. I mean, circumstances have forced him to get more game time than he ordinarily would because Pingu's been injured and most of our other strikers are out on loan. I didn't want to play Sandu in too many big games, and I mean, that's meant he's probably played the last 5 games in a row playing as a striker whilst being trained as a striker, and it's really not taken him long to get used to the position. And Dolberg makes it 2-0 still before half-time. I mean, we've got 2 goals on the stroke of half-time now. It was 0-0 when we hit the 45th minute. Celtic sucking their orange segments a little bit too early and drinking their beverages. What do footballers even do at half-time? Do they still have orange segments? But hopefully this is killing the game off now. Is this the second half? It's now into the 49th minute. It's 3-0. That suggests, I don't remember it being half-time, and that suggests this is still the first half. I've never known injury time like it. 0-0 on 45 minutes, 3-0 up by half-time. This has been a mad episode. Have you ever seen that many goals scored in injury time before? Ever? Is it injury time? If we hit 50 minutes, this must be the second half and I just wasn't paying attention. No, how weird. How weird was that? Henrique must have been down for ages to get 5 minutes of time added on. Although it said there should have only been 3, but I guess every time we score and play has to restart, then that's adding time to the added time again. So I'm not going to complain. We've just gone in 3-0 up at half time and Celtic still haven't had a shot. I mean, it is a carbon copy of what we've just done to Man United. We're now doing the same thing to Celtic. Remember, this is the Celtic team that 2 weeks ago beat Barcelona. We were a bit afraid of Barcelona. And I'm now thinking, based on this performance, we probably shouldn't have been so afraid of Barcelona. Because if Celtic can beat them and we can thump Celtic home and away, then that suggests we can beat Barcelona. We just need to have our mindset right. Felipe clears to Merson, who plays it up to Dolberg. And Dolberg, please sign your new contract now. I mean, we've got, 25 days until the transfer window opens. And more importantly, until he could sign a pre-contract with either Barcelona or Monaco, who are the 2 teams in for him. And they're 2 teams who can pay him a lot more money than we can. We've just agreed £240,000 a week with him, which is what he's earning now. It's literally just a 1-year extension. But I am worried if he drags it out, one of them is going to dip in and just offer him more and we won't be able to compete. So we need him to sign that contract this month. We obviously would have got the ball rolling a little bit sooner if he'd have agreed to discuss terms. I think just the win against Man United gave him the confidence to say, actually, you know what, we might just win something here. I had to promise him silverware by the end of next season to get him to agree terms, but I can handle that. 4-0 up. I think it's time to start trying a few youngsters out for the last 20 minutes or so. We've got Sandu on the bench, so we'll give Sandu 20 minutes. And I'm not sure who else we've got knocking around, but we'll find somebody. Salcedo misses a sitter. Who said he was a striker? Whoever it was, they were lying to you. Right. Let's take off Leshy and bring on Sandu. I know what I'm doing, don't panic. We're going to drop Tommy Merson back into midfield. And we're going to do that and then that. We don't really have any other young kids who are worth bringing on. We've got a bunch of old and injured players and defenders on the bench, so I guess we can bring a defender on. Not that we need to, really, but I suppose Saar. Oh, there you go. Suma's injured. Good job we didn't rush it. So we'll bring Vitali on, and Alex can go out to right back the way he's done so many times before. And then we have to do it again because it's a stupid, stupid game. In fact, I'm not going to bring Vitali on. I'm going to bring on Saar because that's what I was going to do anyway. And I had a logical reason for doing it. Saar wants game time. Let's give him 10 minutes in the Champions League. And Vitali doesn't need game time. Vitali plays plenty of games. Although, I guess he does fit the criteria more of being a youngster who's still developing. So perhaps he's the one I should have brought on. What's more important, developing a youngster or maintaining dynamics? There you go. That's something that you can let me know down in the comments. Amongst all the, I'm sorry, Kev, you're not really Arsene Wenger. Kev, I was wrong. Kev, you were right to stay at Arsenal. I'm expecting a flood of that in the comments today. Don't worry, I've been in the comments section before. I know I'm not going to get too much of that, but I really hope some of you will see that sometimes you just have to bear with me a little bit and I get there in the end, because that has been one of the most spectacularly good episodes, results and game-wise, that we've had this year. That's just been awesome. And you'll find out who we're playing in the next round on tomorrow's episode. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. Plus, there's something a little bit different and a little bit special coming out at 7 o'clock today. It's not Football Manager. It's a game called, what's it called? This Grand Life. Check it out. It's a fun game. And thank you very much for watching.